to reach, isn't it?
I'll lean down when one of you lot are talking.
Yeah, okay.
What camera are we looking at?
Camera 3. Camera 2.
Yeah.
I still can't get over how unpredictable this World Cup is. Like, you never know what sort of game.
No, you can get 5 goals, 6 goal thrillers, and what?
Welcome to World Cup Sera Qatar, a podcast produced and presented by sports journalism students live from our radio studios in Preston. I'm Alex McMonnies.
And I'm Ryan Richardson. As we begin our second week of daily podcasts, we'll be discussing an anticlimactic match between England and USA, as well as going through all the action over the last 3 days, including another major upset.
We'll soon be joining our guests in the studio.
Oh, Jack Daniel Tucker, third year sports journalism, Preston North End fan.
I'm Adam Howarth, first year sports journalism student and a Manchester City fan.
And I'm Sam White. I'm a first year sports journalism student and I support Aston Villa.
We'll hear from those in a few moments, but first we'll be speaking to national broadcaster Greg Burns from Nation Radio. He's also the voice of Adelphi Radio here from the UCLan newsrooms. We should be hearing from Greg in a moment, but okay, no worries. We will carry on and actually go straight into the student chat then. So I'm just going to open this one up then. So obviously the big talking point over the last few days has been the England-USA game, which, as we say, didn't really live up to expectations. If anything went wrong, what do you guys think happened?
Well, I just think it was down to a complete difference in energies between the sides, particularly in the midfield. Like, neither side could really win the midfield battle, and America had Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams in there, and they brought that energy. They were pressing. They didn't allow England any time on the ball to play their usual game, so we just got overrun, and that's how America had most of the chances, the better chances, and probably based off the whole 90 minutes, probably you'd say deserved to win the game, but that's why England fans are taking the point at this point.
I've got to say though, did it really go wrong? You know, we've got 4 points out of 2 games. You know, the likes of Argentina, Germany, Belgium, they're struggling. You know, they might not even make it out their group. Our job's more or less done unless there's a dramatic upset on Tuesday.
Okay.
Oh, and we've got Greg who's going to be joining us now. Sorry for those technical difficulties, but he's here now.
Hi guys.
Hi Greg.
Hiya, Greg. Well, we can't actually see you at the moment, but we will talk to you anyway.
Okay, I can see you if that helps.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, hang on, here you are. Right, hello. Hi, Greg. So it's fair to say England's match on Friday didn't really live up to expectations, as we've just been discussing here. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean you're absolutely right. I think everybody that was watching the game probably felt that. I mean, I felt out of all of the games in the World Cup, and I've watched many of them, I was just drifting off actually by the sort of latter part of the first half. However, realistically, when you look back on it, how many teams so far have had 2 great games on the bounce? You know, I mean, almost everybody's had a bad first game and then a good second game. It has been a very mixed World Cup, and I think we have to remember that a year and a half ago, you know, it wasn't dissimilar. England 0, Scotland 0, or as Scotland called it, a 0-0 win for Scotland, and they still made it to the final. So, as one of you guys was just saying there, it's not been realistically, it's not been too bad. We're nearly, it is nearly job done unless it does go completely wrong on Tuesday, which potentially I think Wales are going to go for it so much. I know they could potentially still qualify, but realistically, I think they could throw everything at it on Tuesday.
And speculation that Southgate has an issue with Phil Foden. Would you have played him, or would you even play him tomorrow night as well?
I think he will. I think undoubtedly he'll play tomorrow night, and I think he will start. And I know, but again, you know, there's always speculation. There always seems to be speculation about one player that should be. We've always got that one player. I think it's our sort of mentality. Oh, if only that one player was playing, that was that one player that was the problem. I think it was surprising not to see him on Friday, but I do have faith in Southgate still, and I think it lines up. I do think he'll start on Tuesday. Put it that way. And also in terms of, does Southgate have an issue with him? I can't imagine what issue I think there must be a genuine reason, and he's got a genuine tactics in mind. You know, he's looked at it and there must be a specific reason why he's not playing Phil Foden, because what football manager in the world would not play one of their best players if there was an issue? Do you know what I mean? I think that there's got to. I can't see there being just something that he's got against Foden, other than the tactically there's a reason for it. And again, I'm sure we'll see him in that starting lineup on Tuesday, which will be exciting for everyone, because I think we kind of need that as well.
Well, you touched upon it there in your first answer about Wales will definitely be up for it, won't you? I think, but is there any chance of them pulling off a crazy upset, or will it mostly just be a matter of pride, do you think?
Do you know, I said this even before Friday, I did think, because there was always potential for it to be, Wales to be where they are now at this stage. And let's be honest, if Wales if Wales don't go on from here, but if Wales beat England in the World Cup, they go back to Wales as World Cup winners. Do you know? That would mean so much, and I think it's potential. I think it's potential. I think realistically, I think England will win it, but I think it could. I'm quite excited because I think it will be a game of goals. Obviously, we've had a lot of 0-0 games in this World Cup. Not necessarily, and not all of them have been bad. There's been some great 0-0 games, but I think we'll see goals, and I think it will be exciting. And I think Wales will absolutely go for it, and it's difficult as well, because I think a lot of us would like to see Wales. I mean, I think everyone would like to see Wales do well. I'm not saying everyone in Wales would like England to do well, but I think I'm excited about it. I certainly think it's going to be a game that we'll remember more than we'll remember Friday night, because I'd forgotten Friday night by 10 o'clock on Friday night.
And going on to the tournament as a whole now, you know, they said there's been quite a few 0-0s, but some of them quite entertaining, to be fair. What would you say has been the most entertaining game of the tournament so far?
I'll be honest, the game I probably thought most about, hasn't necessarily been the best game of football, but Saudi-Argentina, I found, you know, it was just amazing to watch. It was amazing to see Argentina started so well, as you would imagine. If you were in the Argentinian side, you're playing Saudi Arabia, you probably are going to be a bit laid back, but they didn't seem to conceal it. But then in the second half, as the panic set in of Argentina, and equally a different sort of panic for Saudi Arabia, where they were just, you know, it was such a frenetic game of football, and just the drama of seeing that happen to Argentina, and there's such a hyped Argentinian team, Messi's last World Cup. So from a drama and entertaining point of view, I certainly came away from that game buzzing from the drama about it. Yeah, I loved it. I thought that was a real, you know, because there's always been worry. You kind of go, is this World Cup going to be a World Cup in winter, and all the other drama and controversy? There was so little talk about the football initially, but then from then you go, God, the world, you know, what can happen well, I was about to say what can happen in 90 minutes, but obviously there's been no 90-minute games. What can happen in 105 minutes of this World Cup? You know, that was entertainment.
As you say, it really was a much hyped Argentina side, and there were a lot of people's favourites to win it, myself included.
Yeah.
Who were you backing to win the World Cup, and has that answer changed now after a few games?
I know, but I think Brazil. I'm assuming Brazil. I haven't checked odds, but I'm assuming Brazil are now the runaway favourites after Argentina's performance. I quite like the look of Spain, and again, going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, you could argue Spain haven't, like, much as England's second game was disappointing. Some would probably say Spain's second game was disappointing as well. But you know, it is a different World Cup in terms of how fast things have happened. Everyone's interrupted their season. It all seems to be happening a bit faster, so performances are varying a lot. But I think I'm going to go Spain at the moment. I don't know if it could be a Spain. You know, all the different routes. Could it be a Spain-Brazil final? I'm not sure if it could. Realistically, I think it could if Spain don't win their group or something like that. But also France, actually. France, I thought were looking good.
And away from the football now, Greg, what have you made about Qatar hosting this year's World Cup?
To be honest, one of the things that's annoyed me at the beginning, in the few weeks building up to the World Cup, and also very much at the beginning of it, it sort of annoyed me how much fuss there's been made last minute. We're turning on the BBC One on the Sunday. What was that, a week ago yesterday? And thinking, I thought the opening ceremony should be on now, and then they're not showing the opening ceremony. And obviously, they showed all the, deservedly so, highlighting the Qatar's human rights record. However, I just think it's all a little bit too little, too late. Even the stuff about the armbands, and Gareth Bale and Harry Kane were going to wear the armband, and then they were saying, they might still wear it and get booked. Well, one man wearing one armband, as if that's going to do anything. We've had 12 years to complain about it. We've had 6 years since they decided it was going to be a Winter World Cup, throwing all the leagues into chaos. If 12 years ago, people had started making a fuss and just said, well, we're not going. If teams had said we're not going, there wouldn't be a World Cup. And I know it's all about money, but there's no point throwing the money at it if there's no teams going. So I think, and having a go, there's been people having a go at the likes of Alex Scott for going to the World Cup, in light of the way women are treated in Qatar. But if England's going and if England's watching, why shouldn't she go? And I think it's putting unfair pressure on people, unfair pressure to some degree on some of the players as well. I think that's going away again. But yeah, I think it's sad that it's gone to Qatar, but I think there's been a lot of pointless, too little, too late. And 12 years ago, I think it should have started and should never have happened. But we are where we are, and at least now we can enjoy. We can now enjoy what I think is actually turning into quite a good tournament.
Exactly that. And then finally, Greg, really, I guess just talk us through your day tomorrow. Really, are you going to be working, and will you get a chance to watch the game in the pub?
I'm very lucky that tomorrow one of the major record companies, every tournament has a party at one of the central London, a big central London bar, and they've picked tomorrow night for that. They had to cancel it I think it's about 500 people are going to be there. I would assume it's going to be mainly England fans. The one that they had to cancel in the Euros, I know for a fact the surprise guest that was going to perform at half-time was Ed Sheeran. So we're hoping that might be, it's his record company. So there's always something. So tomorrow night is going to be quite a good win, lose or draw. I'm sure we'll win, but I think that's where I'll be. I'll be in a central London bar tomorrow night, and I think we'll probably be out for quite some time before and after.
Well, I'm envious of you already. But thank you very much for speaking to us, Greg. We'll let you go and look forward to that now.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
But yeah, just kind of going back to the conversation we were having before. What did you? What were your thoughts? Should Foden have started, for example, and would you be starting him tomorrow?
I think Foden probably should have. I think it's kind of England kind of went for a defensive substitution, probably because United States had all the press in midfield, as Adam said, with McKennie and all of that. And I think as well, it was kind of all the attacking exuberance. But I think from a tactical point of view now, England have to go kind of all-out attack and keep the same 11 rather than rotating the squad against Wales. And I think that might be a bit difficult.
Well, that's interesting you brought that up, because England are more or less through to the knockout rounds unless something remarkable happens, which, I mean, football, weird things have happened, but they're basically through unless Wales can pull off a miracle, and with the way they've played, I'm not sure that's going to happen. So, but in my opinion, I would change the squad. I would rotate around, give the likes of Rashford, Wilson, maybe even that's Conor Gallagher a go and give them some World Cup experience, because they maybe need to call upon at some point. Do you have any opinions on that, guys?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I think Foden I think he will start tomorrow night. I think he just brings a bit of excitement, doesn't he? You're always on the edge of your seat when you watch him, especially for Man City. He's been very, very good. Him linking up with Haaland. And I just think he'll just give us something else, just a different edge. And it's kind of very similar to like Jack Grealish at the Euros and like World Cup 98 with David Beckham. They were wondering why he wasn't playing the first two group games. And then he started against Colombia and scored.
But do you think he should have started initially, whether it be out wide or in that Mason Mount role?
I mean, yeah, and that Mason Mount role. I mean, apparently the reason he didn't play him is because he doesn't play as a 10 for his club. But it's like, what's the whole point about having versatility? He's a versatile player. He can play out wide or in the middle. That's a very good, key part of your game to have. And I think why he's not started is bemusing to everyone.
And as for Wales, it's going to be all-out attack, you can imagine, for them, because that's the only chance they've got. Will they cause England any trouble, or is it going to be just get the job done for England?
I'd say we need to be careful. We need to respect them as a team, because Wales, this is probably one of Wales' best teams since they were last in the World Cup, which was about 60 years ago. So, and Gareth Bale, when you've got Gareth Bale on your team, we've seen what he's done for Wales in his career. He's got his 100th cap, he's become the record cap holder for Wales. So when he's on the team, he can do anything. We saw in 2016 in the group stage of the Euros, he scored that free kick against England, and they've got a few good players like Brennan Johnson, Dan James in that attack. That pace can cause us problems, especially when Kyle Walker's not fit. So, and they will, like you say, they'll be playing for pride. When those Wales fans, when you see them on telly for the World Cup games, they're very good to watch. They get behind their team and they're well represented in Qatar. So they'll want to get at least some more points on the board for them. So we need to be careful.
Would you be starting Bale though? Because it's clear how much the Wales players seem to rely on him, but I don't think anyone can argue he's just not been performing. And it's similar around Ramsey as well. Probably Wales on paper they're two best players, but they're clearly they're not playing domestically a lot, so they're clearly not very fit. Do you stick with them? Do you think?
Well, I think Bale's probably a good option to have off the bench, because if you probably should drop him based off his performances, and because of the player he is, he'll have that in him to be able to come off the bench and deliver when they need it. We saw that in the MLS Cup final, his first final since moving to America with LAFC. He came off the bench, scored a 120th minute late equaliser to take it to penalties, which obviously they won. So maybe you do drop him, like I say, give Johnson or James or Harry Wilson another chance in the starting 11, because they've proven that they can be good Premier League players. So yeah, maybe it is time for Wales to just shy away from that Bale era and just integrate this new generation.
And we've had a lot of action over the weekend, of course, and there was no bigger game than Morocco with the huge upset over Belgium. Belgium are struggling now. Anyone have any thoughts on, can Belgium qualify out of their group, or is it looking like they're going to be done?
Well, I predicted before the tournament they got in the group stage. It's just an aging squad. De Bruyne just seems to not do the stuff he does for City in this team, in this system. Whether that's down to Roberto Martinez, most likely it is down to him. But he doesn't have that striker he can just cross the ball into. I mean, Batshuayi did score against Canada, but Batshuayi isn't that quality striker, is he? You got Lukaku on the bench, who isn't what he used to be as well. It's just not the same team that it used to be. 2018 they reached the semi-final. So yeah, it's just not the same team.
I know, being an Everton fan, Alex, you've got some thoughts on Roberto Martinez. What do you think's going on with him at Belgium right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear that he's a tiny bit out of his depth. I think it's fair to say, and probably has been for a while. I think even if Belgium do manage to scrape through their group, they probably haven't got much left in them otherwise, and that'll probably be the end of his time there. And yeah, it's similar to what Jack says, really. I think they had their best opportunity in 2018. Obviously, they reached the semi-finals, and that was probably as good as their squad has got. And then since then, a lot of the players have struggled domestically and such. Like I say, the likes of Hazard and Lukaku have kind of fallen by the wayside a bit, and Belgium just haven't really evolved with it. And it's looking like the end of a golden generation, and potentially the end of Roberto Martinez's time, which is not the best news for Everton. But yeah.
I mean, sorry, you can go.
Thanks. I think as well we can credit the problems that Belgium have, but we also have to give remarks to Morocco in the sense that they did extraordinarily well. No one, I don't think, gave Morocco even a shout. I think everyone thought they were going out group stage. We saw in 2018, they tried to upset the likes of Spain and Portugal 4 years ago. But the research, the centre backs actually for the game, we had Yassif Begued, who has only played once in the Premier League this season, only 4 appearances overall, so not really much experience. And then, of course, you had Romain Saïs, formerly of Wolves, and he's only done 12, 13 appearances. So I think it's really extraordinary how well they've got on.
And it's quite baffling to think, because a group of Croatia, Morocco and Canada, it's not exactly tough on paper, but even so in that first game, as much as they won, Canada gave them a real run for the money, and if Canada could find the back of the net, Belgium would be sitting on 0 points right now.
Bet you were buzzing with a goal last
I
night.
knew you'd find a way to get
Well,
Canada
listen,
mentioned. Right? What is it you said here last week?
I said Canada would make the semi-finals, and obviously that's gone poorly. I think we can all agree there. But we'll give Canada credit. They scored the first goal ever at a World Cup. You know, Alphonso Davies with that great header. But it's amazing that Belgium couldn't make it out of this group. And then next game, they've now got Croatia, who are arguably on paper the second best team in that group, who just fired 4 past Canada. I can't see Belgium picking up a result.
Yeah, when the groups were first drawn, that was one of the groups that really stood out to me because every team brings something to the table. Like you say, Morocco, they hadn't qualified in 2018. They hadn't qualified for about 30 years, and they didn't make it out of the group then. But if you look at the team, particularly that defence with Hakimi and Mazraoui as the fullbacks, it's a very good team. And then you've got Croatia, who were runners-up at 2018 in Russia, and they've still got the core of that team. They might not have Rakitic or I didn't say Ante Rebic yesterday, but the team is very good, very strong. In Canada, it's their first World Cup, and I was very impressed by them, largely from what I saw. I mean, I think they just lack that bit of quality and experience at that level, but when they're getting ready to host it in 2026, I'm sure there'll be a much more complete outfit, and these younger players will start to develop into better players, and then they might stand a chance of making it out of the group if they get a bit of a better draw.
I have to say, I very much like your optimism.
I think for Canada as well, it's a sense of, you know, we didn't know what to expect with Canada. Obviously, the second time they've ever qualified. But I think for the country of Canada to get onto the world stage in such a long time, this will give them a massive confidence boost for 4 years' time. Obviously, it will grow the sport in Canada, as well as it's not one of their main focal sports. And I think they can just enjoy the experience and to know that was a brilliant Alphonso Davies header.
Yeah. And moving on now, that this World Cup, there's been a lot of 0-0 draws or it being goalless at half-time. But I don't think it's been boring, but I think it's actually been quite exciting. Jack, have you got any thoughts on that situation?
Well, I've got some stats for you. There were 7 0-0 draws in total in 2014. We're on, how many now? 5?
5, yeah.
The record is 7 that we're hearing. And there was only 1 in 2018. Does it mean everyone's being boring? I don't think so. There's been some really, really good 0-0s. You know, I think Denmark, Tunisia, that was a very good 0-0. Very end-to-end.
Can be some of the most entertaining matches in football.
Exactly, yeah. But I think even then, like Mexico, Poland, 0-0, but still you had the upset of Lewandowski missing a penalty. Yeah. You could rather watch these than, supposedly people would rather watch paint dry than watch a 0-0. But these have actually been really, really, close 0-0s. So,
do you think it's been a case of really good defences or just poor finishing from the attackers? Yeah, we've got some big names at this World Cup. Which way is it?
I think it's more of a game-by-game thing, really. Lewandowski didn't score a penalty against Mexico. So I think it's a mix of both. Very good defences and very poor attacking displays. But I just think no one wants to lose the first group game because that sets the tone, doesn't it? I mean, obviously we've seen Argentina come out and beat Mexico 2-0, but it's, I think teams are very. I think they're more scared to lose their first group game because you never know how that does for morale and the momentum for the tournament.
I think we can all agree that if it's going to be a 0-0, at least let it be entertaining, and it has been so far, hasn't it? And then just to round off this little chat, we're now over a week into the tournament now. Have you guys had your opinions change on who you think might win? Jack, I'll start with you.
To win the tournament, I predicted Argentina. That's not changed.
Not changed, wow.
For me, just think Messi can deliver on the biggest stage when he's needed. And I think I still see a lot of quality in that Argentina team. They resorted back to their old selves in the second half, a more organised unit. And if they can just stay like that, play like that every game, then I think they'll make the final.
Sam?
No, I predicted Brazil. I still think they look strong on paper, but I think my kind of expectation of the Spanish team has increased a bit because Spain are a really well-balanced team. I think they can make top 4. They've got youthful exuberance. They've got a really good mixture of old and new, and I think that's what's excelling them at the minute. So, no, it's not changed. I still think Brazil are going to do well, but keep an eye out for Spain.
For me, I wasn't sure. Obviously, it's very unpredictable, and there's a lot of teams in the mix. I personally did think Argentina, and you'd be a fool to write off Messi and what that team's done with a 36-game unbeaten streak until they played Saudi Arabia. But from what I've seen, I would say right now, I think France are likely to go back to back, because even despite that curse of the reigning champions being knocked out of the group stage, like we saw with Italy in 2010, Spain in 2014, Germany in 2018, I thought that could happen to them ahead of the World Cup. But when those first two games, Australia and Denmark, they were fantastic, and Kylian Mbappe, he just showed how good he is. Ousmane Dembele was so impressive, and that defence is solid. So I don't know who could actually beat France. So I'll be one to watch.
Alex?
Well, I'm similar to Jack, really. I said Argentina at the start, and my answer hasn't changed either. I think the Messi factor's a big one, and obviously, a shock defeat against Saudi Arabia, but I thought they bounced back really well against Mexico. A top side who I believe will still make it out of the group as well. So, I think it's still got to be Argentina for me.
Well, I said.
And now Canada are out. Well,
I did say Brazil won the tournament. A little boring, but the quality's there. I do have to say I do like the Spaniards though. I think Spain look really good. Those young midfielders, the way they pass the ball around is exceptional, and every time I watch them, they're just a joy to watch. And I'm going to back them. I think my opinion's changed. I'm going to back Spain. I still think Brazil do really well, but I'm definitely going to back Spain now.
If Morata keeps that goal scoring form up, then maybe they are seen as potential champions, because that striker, just the facts that people were bringing up when they were assessing Spain's team, midfield strong, defence strong, attack didn't have much of that cutting edge. But if Morata keeps these goals up, that's 2 in 2 games for him. Maybe they are contenders.
And previewing today's games now, we've got another 4 games going today. I know World Cup games left, right, and centre right now. Cameroon are currently 2-1 down to Serbia at half time. Serbia actually scored 2 goals in added on time in the first half, with Milinkovic Savic, one of their star men, putting them 2-1 up. Who's got some thoughts on some of the games today? Some big ones like Portugal v Uruguay.
Well, I did a bit of research into the Group H, and Portugal-Uruguay looks like the blockbuster tie at the moment, because with Ronaldo, he scored in the first game, he won man of the match, even though that was kind of in dispute from many people in that 3-2 win over Ghana, which was a very good game. He's 1 goal now behind Eusebio in World Cup goals for Portugal, so that's potential history for him. Then you've got, and this is also linking back to Russia, when Uruguay and Portugal met in the round of 16. Uruguay have won that one, and Portugal will be looking for some revenge, because these two are the favourites to make it out of the group. And Uruguay do need the result really here, because after their draw with South Korea. And as for them, they've got Luis Suarez, who's scored at least 2 goals in each of the past 3 World Cups. That's some impressive longevity, and he's yet to bag one this tournament. So he'll be looking to finally get on the score sheet, despite leaving Europe and kind of going off the grid a bit. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch, that one.
And speaking of revenge, of course, based on circumstances, it could very well end up being that Uruguay-Ghana is a decider for who gets out of that group, and Ghana in particular will probably have a bit of justification for wanting to get one over on Uruguay a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. That 2010 World Cup quarter-final was one of the historic, iconic games in World Cup history, really, not just recent World Cups. That was the World Cup in Africa, the potential of an African side going the furthest an African side has ever gone. They were minutes away from doing it, only for Suarez to put literally everything on the line to stop it. So, and then obviously it's fair to say he's not popular down in those regions of West Africa, but Ghana will be really looking to do that, and they're actually in the FIFA rankings the 11th ranked side in Africa, so it's quite impressive that they're here. So with this new look team with the likes of Williams and Terry Lamptey, I'm interested to see how they do against South Korea today in particular.
Just quickly want to touch on Brazil-Switzerland as well. Obviously they've only played each other twice before, and they were both draws. And then obviously the Swiss trying to get back-to-back wins for the first time in World Cup history. So I think we'll be in for an interesting match.
Just finally as well, quickly, who was everyone's dark horses before the tournament, and how have some of those sides performed for you, Jack?
Mine was Serbia, and they're doing pretty well against Cameroon for what we're hearing. Milinkovic Savic. I look at their quality in the squad. Milinkovic Savic, very, very good in Serie A, linked with the Premier League. Mitrovic, Vlahovic, and you know you got Kostic as well from Juventus. You know, it's a squad that, you know, also Milinkovic is a defender as well. I think it's a very, you know, might not scream to you, but dark horses don't usually do that, do they? You know, I feel like they just have something about them. They just speak to me for some reason.
My Canadians did, but they've not worked out so far this year. Anyone else?
Yeah, I thought the same with Serbia, to be honest. But who I've really been surprised with, well, firstly Saudi Arabia, but that's not really a surprise. But their manager, like the football they've been playing, is just, I did not expect that from them at all. I really hope that from a neutral perspective that they make it out of that group, and they have a good chance to. But I've also been really impressed by Ecuador. I did not expect them to really put up as good a fight as they have against Senegal, and that's looking like a really good decider for match day 3, because they were really good against Qatar, and I did not expect them to get a draw there against the Netherlands. So Enner Valencia going for the Golden Boot. He's actually got, I think, 14 goals in the Turkish Super League this season already. So, you know, the former Everton man, he's been very good this tournament, and I'll be looking forward to see if he can make it out of the group.
We do all love an underdog, don't we?
We do.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much to our special guest, Greg Burns, for joining us.
And thanks also to all our students, Sam, Adam and Jack. This podcast was produced and presented by sports journalism students at the University of Central Lancashire in Preston. If you liked it, you can follow us on Spotify and share it with your friends.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow going through all the action in today's matches and giving a more in-depth preview of Wales versus England. We hope you'll join us.
Good. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to ask him about his dark horse.
Well,
I was gonna
Time.
ask him about his dark horse.
funnily enough, I was going to say Ecuador, so Adam basically answered it for me.
Yeah.